Good evening. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Inform the public we're returning from an executive session with no votes to announce at this time. Ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Riley?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd ask everybody in the audience to join the board and myself in taking a moment of silence. 2 days ago, and then again, I believe earlier today, we've lost two giants in the community, Betty Thompson and Shoshana Garshnik, who were, as I think anybody who's been in town government knows, pillars in our community for a significant amount of time. And so with that, I ask for a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Just remind everybody that we're being recorded live by Raynham. Acceptance of the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the May 14th meeting as printed.
Due to the fact that I was not here for most of them, I'll vote present.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and one present. No department heads this evening. Appointments, Historical Commission. We have the recommended appointment of Karen Jackson for the Historical Commission. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll make that motion to appoint. The Historical Commission met last Thursday and unanimously voted to recommend Mrs. Jackson's appointment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is approved. Constable reappointment, David DeCenzo. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll move to accept his reappointment. We already did that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And Serpent Rep, Carol Sullivan. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to appoint, or reappoint, actually.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. No other appointments this evening. Citizen and community input. Anybody have anything for us? No? Okay. Public hearings, transfer of license, Harry's La Casamia. Call that hearing to order at 7:02 p.m. Mr. Travaglione, do you want to go to the podium, introduce yourself, and give us any information you'd like the board to consider?
My name's John Travaglione, and I've run the restaurant for 40 years, and, you know, the only thing that's left in my mother's name is the liquor license. Everything else is in my name, so I think it's right to finally transfer it over.
Okay.
And that's
Any questions for Mr. Travaglione?
No, the only question I have is that, is everything here?
Everything is here, is in order. We have the police background check. There are no issues that have alarmed the police department.
Good. Okay, then I will move that, excuse me, we accept.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
That's it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before we close, Mr. Travaglione,
John.
Yeah, I just have to, if there's any members of the public that want to speak. No. Okay. I will close that hearing then at 7:03. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the board's edification, we had done a hearing a few weeks ago for the transfer of license for Greyhound, and we took the unique step of proving it without the police report, but we did get that police report in, and to the gentleman's credit, he was 100% candid with us. There were no issues or concerns, and so I just wanted to let the board know that our vote can stand, and we don't have to take any further action on that. Okay, no other public hearings, new business, rave, children and seniors together week. I see our rave coordinator, Miss George. Is that you?
It is.
All right, come on down.
We have a couple of other rave members, too,
Yep.
that might want to join her at the podium, Mrs. Yell and Mrs. Leahy.
Sure.
So again, I'm Rebecca George, the rave coordinator. This year is our 38th year with RAVE, Raynham Association for Volunteers of Education, assisting in the Raynham Public Schools. We've had a very busy year this year, many different activities. We've trained many new RAVE volunteers this year. And along with our Raynham Council on Aging, we are hoping to hold Cast Week, or Children and Seniors Together Week, for the week of May 26th through June 1st. And this is a really wonderful program which instills a sense of community and it brings the children of Raynham and the senior citizens of Raynham together. At all three of our Raynham schools, we have scheduled senior citizens and still looking for more. In our three Raynham schools from K through 6th grade. And these senior citizens will come in, they'll visit with the children in the younger grades, they'll read books that may have to do with grandparents or, older seniors. And in the older grades, these people that come in, they talk about what life was like for them while they were in school and while they were growing up. And the children really enjoy that and really appreciate that. They love hearing the different stories of what life was like for them when they were younger. We also, this past week, another connection with seniors was our Pen Pal program, which was run by our chairperson, Becky Mello, who I think is also here tonight. And a great success with that. We had 2 4th grade classrooms that were writing back and forth, I believe 24 students in each classroom. So we had a total of 48 pen pals writing back and forth with these children. And on Monday and Tuesday of this week, we had a breakfast with the seniors meeting the 4th graders, pen pals, for the first time, and it was lovely. The way that when they first meet, both are excited, both are nervous, both they just can't wait to meet each other. And this one particular yesterday, there was a girl who, she was so excited to meet her pen pal who brought along this big craft project with her to finish because they really made a connection. So it's just a great way for the bonding of our children in Raynham with our seniors from the area. We also have a couple of great events coming up, one being Rave Volunteer Appreciation Week during the week of May 26th through June 1st that Gay Yell will be speaking about. We have a volunteer appreciation brunch coming up that she will be speaking about.
And we can't talk about that rave volunteer brunch without thinking of Shoshana Goshik. Shoshana started the rave program 38 years ago during a particular tight budget crunch that we had at the Raynham Public Schools. And she started this volunteer program not to replace teachers, but to have a volunteer program in the schools to help teachers in the classroom with things like running off papers and having a great books initiative in the public schools that was enhancing things in the Raynham Public Schools. And it was a wonderful program. And part of that program was to, at the end of each year, she would have a program to have the board members thank the teachers, and that went on for many years. But at the end of the year, the person that ran that program, which Shoshana, was her responsibility. Joe Gilbert said to me one day, "Gay, would you mind running that program?" And so I took over the program, and rather than having the board thank the teachers, I thought it would be fun to have the students thank the rave volunteers. So the program focus changed, and we turned it around and had the students thank the volunteer program, and therefore we had the celebration luncheon. So every year we have the students thank the volunteers, and it has become the rave celebration luncheon. So that is occurring this Friday at 9:45, and you're all welcome to come. We open up our arms to have everybody come and see it, because it's a joyous occasion when we try to have, the community members come as well. So this Friday at 9:45, the kindergarten students, and the grade 2 students do try to say their thanks to our rave volunteers. And Pat will be welcoming them, and Becky will be welcoming them, and I will too. So, see you this Friday. Becky?
Just a correction, next Friday is
Next
the
Friday.
31st. We're a little ahead of ourselves, but next Friday would be the 31st. And that's okay. And we also have Sandy Leahy, who heads up our Salute to Our Veterans Committee, who will be speaking about our upcoming Memorial Day Parade on Saturday for the town of Raynham.
Hi. Yes, first, I want to publicly thank Ed Buckley and all the highway people and Chief Janice and all the firefighters for putting up the flags, taking them down, and with all this wind, fixing them, and they store everything right at the fire station. When we began this 7 years ago, this will be our 7th Memorial Day Parade, it's like, okay, what are we going to do with all these flags? And Jim Janis just jumped on board, Highway came in, and this is the kind of community that we live in. And I'm very proud of Raynham, and they are a huge help to us. So, this Saturday, 10 o'clock sharp, the parade will begin at Merrill School, go all the way down Pleasant Street to the Four Corners, continue on South Main, up to the gazebo. That will take about an hour for the parade to be complete. And at 11 o'clock, we have about a half-hour ceremony, which is it's just heartwarming. And I know Memorial Day is a day for picnics, friends, open to summer, but before that, it's just a day to thank, honor our fallen heroes. So that's what the parade will start off with, and everybody can have a wonderful afternoon. So, everybody's welcome, the entire town of Raynham.
Thank you.
All right.
While you guys are there, we'll do your 2 resolutions. Okay, we have one resolution for Cast Week, whereas the month of May has been designated as Older Americans Month in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and whereas the Raynham Council on Aging and the Raynham Association of Volunteers for Education Incorporated have designated the week of May 26th to June 1st as Children and Seniors Together Week, and whereas activities honoring this observance will be conducted in the town of Raynham and the public schools of the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District, and whereas it is widely recognized that intergenerational activities involving some of a community's youngest and oldest citizens can promote understanding, provide invaluable experiences and lifetime memories, and contribute to the important sense of community that brings all of its citizens together now. Therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Raynham, join in the observance and proclaim the week of May 26th to June 1st, 2019, Children and Seniors Together Week in the town of Raynham, and I'd entertain a motion for that.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor? That one is approved, and we have a resolution for Rave Volunteer Appreciation Week, whereas every year citizens across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and throughout the nation designate a certain period of time to honor and give thanks to those who give of their time to serve as volunteers, and whereas the citizens of Raynham stand firmly committed to the practice of volunteerism and the importance of community involvement in our schools through volunteerism, and whereas the Raynham Association of Volunteers for Education is celebrating 38 years of assisting the Raynham Public Schools of the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District by providing volunteers and volunteer programs, and whereas RAVE is honoring its volunteers with RAVE Volunteer Appreciation Week activities during the week of May 26th to June 1st, 2019, culminating with a Volunteer Appreciation Celebration Brunch on Friday, May 31st, 2019. Therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Raynham, join in observance and proclaim the week of May 26th through June 1st as RAVE Volunteer Appreciation Week in the town of Raynham.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are both approved. Thank you all. Any questions or comments?
you.
While we're still on the rave subject, Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah.
I might,
Sure.
just want to mention these 3 ladies obviously do a fantastic job. Mrs. George is doing a great job as the coordinator. Mrs. Yell was an original member that helped Shoshana start RAVE back in 1981, as she's continued her involvement with RAVE through all these many years. And Sandy is the heart of our Salute to Veterans, suggested it 8 years ago, and we started raising funds, and it's all personal funds that are raised to, and donations from organizations to buy all of those flags. There's more this year than ever, I believe, Mrs. Leahy, and obviously the parade. So I want to thank them so much. And if I could just say a word about Shoshana at
Sure.
this point, since we're on the topic. Shoshana, some people new in the community may not recall Shoshana, but she was a retired teacher who lived in Raynham for about 54 years with her husband Al, and during that time, in addition to raising her family, she served for 22 years as a member of the Raynham School Committee before we regionalized, and during those 22 years, for 14 years, she was the delegate to the Bridgewater-Raynham Committee. And in 1981, she was the driving force to start RAVE, and for 16 years, she was RAVE. She led the charge as its first president and coordinator, and many of the programs, including Cast Week, that we still do, were started under Shoshana. So although we've lost her, and it's a huge loss, but her legacy goes on a day-to-day basis through our rave programs and the work of our great rave volunteers. So just want to thank everybody
Thank you, Ms.
for that.
And the award that we give each year.
Shoshana Garshik, Volunteer of the Year Award. Also, if I might mention, too, that the funeral services for Shoshana will be this Thursday at 11 o'clock at the synagogue in Taunton. The congregation Agudath Hakim and friends and family are invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Next up, Board of Selectmen summer meeting schedule. We start with the week of June 4th off, and we rotate every other week through August, as we always work around the 4th of July holiday. What's the board's pleasure?
So moved to approve?
I just want the dates again, please.
June
What are we going to start with?
June 4th would be the first one we're off.
Oh, okay.
So June 4,
Why don't you do the dates that were...
that we're meeting? Okay, so June 11th we're meeting, June 25th we're meeting, July 9 we're meeting, July 23rd we're meeting, August 6th we're meeting, August 20th we're meeting. Does that sound about right, Mr. Luciano?
That's correct.
Okay, good. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Did you move it? I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That meeting schedule is set. Okay, we have,
If I might just add, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The board, even though they're meeting every other Tuesday in June, Town Hall for all 4 Tuesday nights, the 4th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, will remain open from 6 to 8. But in July and August, the Town Hall office hours will mirror those of the Selectmen's meeting nights. So the opposite nights that were not mentioned tonight, the Town Hall will be closed in July and August on those particular
we'll get that
Tuesdays.
on the website, Mr. Luciano.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, Susie gravel permit. Come on down. If you could, just state your name for the record, and I know what you're here for.
Good evening, Mr. Pacheco and members of the board. I'm David Waluka Real Estate. This is the 26th year that we've been doing this. And we're here for the annual renewal of the earth removal permit for the Raynham Core Pit on Gardner Street. As in past years, the phase for removal has remained the same. It's become essentially a fill as opposed to removal. There has been some, if you've been there, there's been some change in as you come in, because there was a high road that they took down because it was in the way of the business. So we're here for the annual renewal. You have the bond, which expires this August. So I would ask that you approve the renewal subject to the bond being resubmitted in August, and the environmental analysis has already been scheduled, and once again, you'll ask for the approval subject to that coming through.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? No. This has always been a very clean process, and there's never been any issues. So if the board doesn't object, I'd entertain a motion to approve contingent upon the environmental and the bond.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is approved. Thank you. Take care.
you.
We'll see you next year. Next up is the Borden Colony lease. We received correspondence from the Park and Rec Department relative to the lease of the land at Borden Colony. We've had for a number of years now a lease for 14 and a half acres with Mr. Aruda, and this previous year's lease had been for $1,450, and they had paid $2,800 for the field to be mowed. Park and Rec is requesting an amendment to the lease which would appear to strike the rental fee in exchange for Mr. Aruda, the tenant, taking care of the mowing every year. What is the board's pleasure?
Well, it seems as though this should actually just comes under the Park and Recreation Department. does it
I think
not?
we have to sign off on
Still
it.
have to
We-
sign
Yeah,
off on
we've done it
then
in the past.
I'll move the,
It seems very standard outside of that, and
Yeah.
it appears that the amendment would be very favorable to the town. They'll continue to have the insurance coverage, which seems to be at the standard levels.
Right.
So,
so move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That is approved. Tag day requests. We have one for Silver City Sharks and one for Seventh Day Advent Church. What's the board's pleasure?
Move to allow.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. And we have to set a hearing date for Walmart change of directors. Mr. Luciano is going to be coordinating with the police department for the standard review because they have a liquor license involved in that. My recommendation to the board, if there's no objection, would be for June 11th.
Motion to set the hearing at that date?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is set. Any other new business, Mrs. Smith?
No.
Miss Riley?
No.
Okay, old business, Mrs. Smith?
Nope.
Miss Riley?
No.
Town Administrator's report, Mr. Luciano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Highway Department salt shed replacement is ready for bid. The advertisement for bids will be posted tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd, with an award date scheduled for 6/27/19. I have in correspondence for signature the additional charge that we would be using to supplement that bid, not necessarily for, or definitely not for the salt shed storage and construction, but what the highway superintendent is seeking permission is to utilize some Chapter 90 money in addition to the bid, which would be for paving, which would be for road work, which is allowed under the Chapter 90 guidelines. So that is in correspondence to sign if the board is okay with that. All right, we'll have that for signature tonight, and for those interested, check tomorrow. It'll be posted at numerous sites. We hope to get sufficient bids to make that award. Yesterday was Student Government Day, held here at Town Hall. We had a total of 14 Bridgewater Raynham High School students who shadowed a department head of their choice for the course of the morning. Miss Riley and I had 4 students who we believe we had convinced to become future selectmen. Is that true?
Hopefully. At least that or a town administrator.
But I thought the enthusiasm of all 14 was really nice to see. The questions that they had were very pertinent to the different departments that they shadowed because they got together afterwards and shared their experiences. I will have to say, we did a pretty good job, but I think we were outvoted by the police and fire students who got to go on some calls. And the Board of Health did an inspection with their students at one of the local donut shops. And all of the students were very curious to see if they passed, because apparently they attend that particular donut shop a lot. So that was a good morning had by all, and Ms. Riley and I certainly enjoyed being with the students. Southeastern Regional Services Group, in correspondence, is the bid award for DPW supplies. A 1-year term. I recommend that the board approve the bid documents.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's approved.
Committee openings. We currently have 1 opening for a 5-year term on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we have an additional opening on the Finance Committee for a 1-year term. We also have a 3-year term, but we have an applicant for that, and the Finance Committee is going to be forwarding their recommendation to us for the 3-year. But this would be an additional 1-year term that, if the board so pleases, to open up for applications to the board.
We want to move forward and get those posted.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Luciano, I'm certain the ZBA position's the associate member?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
So we'll post that on the website as well.
Perfect,
Please.
thank you.
All right. Upcoming, next Selectmen's meeting will be next Tuesday, May 28th at 7 PM here at Town Hall. We will have an executive session prior to the Selectmen's meeting under Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21 at 6 PM. Union negotiations continue with sewer and highway unions. Government Study Committee, next scheduled meeting will be tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd at 6:30 PM at the South School. That is all I have tonight, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Luciano?
Done?
No, other than the fact that, just a comment that he did a great job with the student government
Thank you.
day. Just, we'll have to see if we can come up with something a little bit more exciting so that we can compete with our police and fire, Mr. Luciano, next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, we didn't win that one.
I think the health agent probably
Yeah.
took over that one.
Good.
They probably all had donuts.
Good. Selectmen's report, Mrs. Smith.
I'm good.
Ms. Riley?
Yes, I have a couple things. As I mentioned earlier, Historical Commission met last Thursday, and they reorganized. The interim chairman is Mr. Jeffrey Kelleher. The interim co-chairman is Mr. Lou Bousquet. The secretary is Diane McGuire, the treasurer is Diane McGuire, and the position of secretary is yet to be filled. They had a good meeting, and will be meeting again, I believe, on June 20th. Also, want to thank everybody for attending the town meeting last night. It was one of the larger turnouts that we've had. Some lively debate, one of the longest meetings we've had for a while, but that's what town meeting is all about. I just want to comment on one item that was passed unanimously, our master plan, and to go forward with updating the master plan. As may have been mentioned previously, the last time it was updated was 2003. And I would ask that Mr. Luciano confer with Mr. Iafredi about meeting with Serped and getting direction how to proceed with that. I know that we do have some hours that Serped provides to the town of Raynham. I think it's 20 hours from Planning Board and 20 hours for Selectmen. And when I brought this up earlier, they hadn't been used. I think Mr. Iafredi is now using some of those. But if there are any of those that we could use, perhaps to try to access some grant funding, I believe there is grant funding available for master plans. And if we have used those hours, July 1st, we get them all over again, because it is based on the fiscal year.
Right, that's what John Texera, 132 First Street. What I wanted to explain to you, and something that I learned this past week on those 40 hours. Those 40 hours, the money for that 40 hours goes into a bucket. Serpent, in the March-April time period, accepts requests for different projects, okay? If you don't have a project in there, what you run the risk of, and we have this year, is they use that money on all the other projects. So right now, if you said to them, hey, I want to use my 40 hours, they're going to tell you there's no more money there. Now, that surprised me, because I thought, we pay our allotment each year per citizen, I guess is the way it works, $2 and some odd cents. Excuse me. I thought that was ours, but it isn't. It's gone. We have to wait now for July 1st to get our 40 hours back again, where the funding will be there. So what it says is, if you want to use that, you better get in quick in the March-April time period. Well, actually, it's too late for that, right? But we ought to get in real quick, like in the next month or so, and say, hey, this is what we want to do come July 1st. Now, 40 hours is only a week, and I ain't going to buy you a lot with Serpent. Okay, it isn't. But we, the planning board, are going to be working with them in the December, January time period. There's, and I'm trying to think of the acronym. There's so many acronyms in Serpent. It's just, but it's money from the state that the state allocates to each of the RPAs, and Serpent is an RPA. Money that Serpent goes through. Like last year, they got $240,000. Serpent goes through and accepts requests for projects. And we want to go to them, we the planning board, with, we want to revise a lot of our regulations. A lot of our regulations are real old, and they don't make any sense anymore. One of the things that came up last night that was I think really hit home with myself and a lot of them is, why can you only put an ARC in a business? Why does it have to be business zone to put homes for people in there? I mean, but those are the type of things we want them to look at surrounding towns and see what other towns do and what we should do to our regulations, because most of them are very, very old.
Thank you. Mr. Texera, I appreciate that. And I would just ask in the future, if you get my attention before you speak, we have an agenda that I like to follow.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean any offense.
Thank you. Ms. Riley?
Yeah, and continuing that, I think Mr. Grant King was the one that I had spoke with at Serped, Mr. Luciano. And he had said there are some grants that we might be able to access ourselves. He can point us in that direction.
What was his name, Mr. King?
Grant King.
Grant?
Yes.
Grant King
Grant
for grants?
King for grants. Yes.
Any other questions, separate questions I can answer for you?
Could I, through you?
Sure, absolutely.
Could you bring this up to the planning board and maybe see if they want to designate a member to serve? I'm thinking of putting together maybe a group that includes Bob Iafredi, myself,
Serve.
somebody on the master plan, beginning the master plan
I'll mention
process.
that at our next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and see what your board may want to recommend, how to proceed with that. I'm sure would probably be more to be overseen by the planning board, where I'll work from the it's a selectman's
I'll mention that.
perspective, but,
The
yeah, if we
board,
could work in a collaborative effort on that, I think we can put something good together.
board doesn't meet again until first week in June, but I'll bring it up at that meeting.
Is that all right with the
Yeah,
chairman?
thank you, Mr. Luciano.
All right,
Just if I could quickly, Mr. Chairman, I did look for a little information about it, which I'll pass on, which it can be really encompassing. It includes usually, according to state law, which I didn't realize, Mass General Law, a master plan has 9 required elements, including a statement of goals and policies, land use, housing, economic development, natural and cultural resources, open space and recreation, services and facilities, circulation, and implementation to make sure that it isn't just a plan that stays on the shelf, that it actually becomes reality. So I think it's certainly a direction we need to move in. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. I just want to echo your comments, Ms. Riley, about the town meeting and how pleased I was by the turnout and the lively debate. And I also want to commend our town moderator for, as always, doing a phenomenal job navigating the issues and the debate. Hats off to John for his continued good work. I believe we've handled all of the correspondence this evening. I'm just going to double check, but yes, we have. We have no members of the press with us this evening. Any emergency business?
It's not emergency business, but one just reminder, again, Memorial Day Parade, don't miss it, this Saturday.
Good, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, and no business to be conducted after.
Signing of the bills and the
Yes.
warrants.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is that a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.